Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Liz Walla, and I work on the sales team here at Hierology. I'm really excited to host the second webinar of our latest Quick Hit series. If you've never joined us before, a Quick Hit series, these are quarterly series of short digestible webinars that cover a specific timely theme. This quarter, we're covering all things hiring in the hospitality industry. In our last session, we talked about all things candidate sourcing. So today we're going to touch on what you should do once you get those candidates in the door. We'll dig into what a great candidate experience looks like in hospitality and how to actually mirror this experience with the guest experience. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So if you were with us last time, we went over the current hiring landscape briefly to provide some context into why all of this matters now. I'm going to cover that again here quickly, just so everyone is up to speed. Now, in general, across all industries, we're currently facing an unprecedented labor shortage. As of December, the Wall Street Journal estimated that there are 2 unemployed job seekers for every 3 open positions. This means that you're not just competing with other hotels for talent, you're competing across all industries, from retail to tech to automotive and many more. People have so many options for work that they can be extremely selective in where they apply and which jobs they actually end up taking. Now, I'm sure it's no surprise to anyone here that hospitality is experiencing the worst of this crisis. According to EMSI, jobs in the hospitality space have increased significantly in the last year, more than any other industry. Openings for hotel desk clerks and waiters and waitresses are up 80% from a year ago, and baggage porters and bellhops are up more than 180%. Let those numbers sink in for a second. Of course, this is largely because you were forced to let people go at the onset of the pandemic, and many of these folks now are exploring other career opportunities or choosing to remain outside of the workforce altogether. You'll note that the month-over-month numbers are actually negative, which can largely be attributed to seasonality. Most areas of the country are not popular destinations for tourists and travel right now, but this is going to change, and it's going to do so very quickly, which is why this discussion is relevant and important. So we need to take some time to reassess your talent sourcing strategy before travel seasons pick back up. Now, here's a look at this data by state. As you saw on the last slide, the month-over-month numbers are actually down, and this gives you some indication as to why. States like Montana and Maine, they're going to be down more than 39%, which is largely because of the time of year. And then you'll notice that Hawaii, Florida, and Arizona are up by 8%, which makes sense given the time of year as well. But as we head into spring break and summer, these numbers are only going to skyrocket. So if you're in one of these red states, it's really important to start preparing your plan now before you start to see a boom in customers. Which brings us to the next slide. Why is this important now? So like I mentioned, seasonal upswings are coming. Spring break for southern states and summer tourist season for states in the Northeast, and even tourist destinations in places like Michigan and Wisconsin. You may actually be seeing a downswing in demand and thus hiring right now, but this is going to change fast. And the sooner you get ahead of it, the better off you'll be. Additionally, Omicron cases are already past peak in parts of the Northeast and in bigger cities like Chicago. The rest of the country will follow fast. And like we saw with the original COVID variant, as soon as cases go down, people want to get out and travel more. So you're going to see a big boom in demand in the coming months because of this as well. Ultimately, if you're not ahead of these booms and you're understaffed, you're going to find yourself unable to keep up with demand. Maybe rooms go unbooked, or bar and restaurant reduce hours or close completely because you can't staff them. At the end of the day, this means that you're missing out on revenue. But it's almost impossible to fill your open roles when your candidates are disengaged, unresponsive, or you lose them entirely to other opportunities. As noted above, folks have so many options for work that once you do get someone who's interested in your roles, you have to do everything you can to keep them excited and interested until you can get them on the payroll. But of course, this is easier said than done. You're busy, you're filling so many open roles. How do you even design a process that keeps candidates excited, just as excited as you move through the hiring steps? So I thought we'd frame today's webinar through a lens that we know you're familiar with, and that's going to be the guest experience. As leaders in the hotel space, you know just how important it is to provide a great guest experience, and you know exactly what it takes to provide one. So why not take some of those best practices that you all know so well and apply them to the candidate experience? To start, we need to ask what exactly goes into a great guest experience, and it's going to be a few things. First and foremost, as you know, it needs to be as easy as possible for guests to book their stay online via self-service. No one wants to call hotels anymore. They want to do it on their own without having to speak to anyone. And increasingly, it's becoming more and more important for them to be able to do so on a mobile device. People are on the go. They rely heavily on their phones for day-to-day tasks. And finally, a great guest experience involves the right amount of communication from you. From the moment they book the room to the day that they check out, they need to know when to arrive, how to check in, where to park, etc. And when guests arrive, you have all their information on file and you greet them with a warm welcome. So let's take a look at how you can apply these concepts to the candidate experience. First and foremost is making the process easy and efficient. You're going to hear me say those words several times throughout the next slides. Applying for your open roles and scheduling interviews should be just as easy as booking a room. It should only require a few steps. You fill out your contact information, upload a resume, and that's it. It should not take more than a few minutes to complete, and it shouldn't require navigating through multiple pages on your site. Now, if you do require a resume, don't make folks complete fields with the same information that's on that resume, or make the resume optional. The easier and faster, the better. Lastly, don't require creating an account or logging in. This can become a huge barrier to applying. Folks, they don't want to take the time to create accounts, and even if they do, they're likely to forget their password later on. And I'm sure we can all agree there are few things more frustrating online than having to reset your password. So let's visualize how these experiences compare. Here's an example of a great guest booking experience with Hyatt. There's only a few fields to fill out. It's simple, it's user-friendly, and easy to navigate. And here's an example of a typical hiring process for a hotel. You have to navigate to a careers page, find the job, and then scroll all the way to the bottom to determine how to apply. Then it asks for the candidate to submit their resume via email. This is so much more difficult and time consuming than it is to fill out forms, much like you would when booking a room. And it's likely to cause folks to drop off and give up altogether. Now, here's an example of a great candidate experience. You scroll through the jobs, find the one that you want, click Apply Now at the top right hand of the page, and then you have this really short form to complete. There's no emails, no attachments required, quick and easy, just like booking a room. Similarly, scheduling an interview should be just as easy as booking a room too. You shouldn't have to go back and forth playing phone tag. It should also be something that can happen online via self-service. You're going to see an image on the far right. This is an example of Hierology's upcoming scheduling release that automates this process. We're going to give candidates available times for them to choose directly from their computer or phone, eliminating that cumbersome back and forth that happens so often and can turn candidates away or can even prolong your hiring process. Next, just like your guest experience, your candidate experience has to be mobile friendly. I can't stress this enough. That means that you require no more than 4 to 7 fields, and the application itself is responsibly designed. So you might be asking, what does that mean? It means large fields that are easy to see and complete on small screens, limited scrolling, and limited drop-down menus. Additionally, use text messaging to do things like scheduling interviews, ordering skills assessments, or running reference checks. Texting is so much easier for candidates to do on the go rather than navigating through email. Plus, email inboxes nowadays are cluttered and overloaded, so it's really easy for your messages to get lost there. To put it simply, avoid anything that is going to frustrate someone on their phones. Put yourself in their shoes. I'm going to give each of you a homework assignment. Go to your websites, try to apply for an open job on your phone, and see just how easy or difficult the experience is for you to navigate. Now, here's a side-by-side comparison of a great mobile-friendly guest experience and a great mobile-friendly candidate experience. You'll see the fields are large and easy to fill out on small screens. There aren't a lot of fields and you don't have to scroll at all to get to them. It's easy and again, simple. On the right-hand side, you'll also see an example of how you can use text messaging to do things like scheduling interviews. This can shave days off your process and increase the likelihood of keeping your candidates engaged. Next, it's important to maintain regular communication with your candidates, much like you would your guests. So for example, once a candidate submits an application, be sure to respond personally within 24 hours, or at least program automatic responses so that they know their application has been received. Texting can also be used as a way to continuously sell your open roles as candidates are being contacted by your competitors. For example, after a candidate completes an interview, send a text message that says, "Hey, so-and-so, it was really great meeting with you today. I want to share the 3 reasons why our employees love working here. We look forward to continuing the conversation with you." Similarly, make sure to confirm when they schedule interviews or when steps like skills tests or reference checks are complete. This is no different than confirmation emails you send out to your guests today. So in general, the candidate should always know the next steps and where they're at in the process. And let's take a look on the next slide of an example. On the left, you'll see a confirmation email for a hotel booking. In this email, the respondent knows exactly when the room has been booked and the times for check-in and check-out. It also includes really easy access to additional information like the property overview and how to modify the reservation. Why should your candidate experience be any different? We have to ask ourselves that. On the right, you'll see a similar example in the hiring world. When the recruiter has sent the interview location details to give the candidate more information on where to go and who to ask for when they come on site for the interview. And finally, the hospitality space is quite literally known for being warm, welcoming, and prepared for guests. You know how to make the experience relaxing and stress-free. So it's important to adopt that same mindset with your candidates. Your recruiters and hiring managers need to always be friendly and kind. You can adopt a no assholes policy. This is actually one of our core values here at Hireology. It's the best way to make a great first impression so that candidates stay eager and engaged throughout the process and don't jump to other opportunities. Next, when candidates do show up for interviews, your team needs to be ready. This means that they're informed on the candidate's background and they don't make the candidate start over and explaining who they are and what their experience might have been. Further, you should be prepared with questions you want to ask so the interview goes smoothly and doesn't feel rocky or unorganized. And finally, the transition from candidate to new hire also needs to be smooth. Think about how easy it is for guests to go from booking their stay to checking in and accessing that room. The same needs need to happen for your new hires. Once they sign the offer, the process of gathering their new hire information and onboarding and training needs to be smooth. Hiring and onboarding needs to feel just like one cohesive process rather than 2 disjointed processes with an abrupt start and end point. Here's a look at how this works in Hireology. Candidate information is stored in a central location, and when they get hired, that information is all there. They're just simply moved to the onboarding step within the app. You can add customizable requirements to their candidate or new hire profile within the app. For example, in the healthcare space, our customers need to collect things like immunization records, proof of certification, and you can mark those as needed with the candidate. This ensures that nothing falls through the cracks when you move candidates from hiring to that onboarding step. So again, think of this like you would your guests. If a guest showed up and you didn't have them in your system and required them to if you didn't have them in your system and you required them to re-enter all of the information when they arrived on site, it would be a disjointed, horrible experience for them. This is why your booking information is all accessible in a central location. So the same process from booking to then checking in is seamless and efficient. Your candidate experience should be no different from that. And so that's everything that I have for you today. To summarize, a great candidate experience is critical to the hospitality space. It's how you keep your best candidates engaged and excited to join your team over your competitors. And at a time when competition is at an all-time high, particularly in the hotel space, anything you can do to win candidates over can make the greatest difference. So thank you everyone again for joining. If you have any questions or you'd like to speak to us one-on-one about how we can help you improve your hiring efforts today, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at info@hireology.com. Thanks again.